Up and break the ice with a bit of spoken word. Then I'm going to invite the rest of the cast to the stage, Tom and Malcolm. I've been in gangs and done hardcore drugs. There ain't nothing as dangerous as being in love. My love for freedom transcends addiction. It completely consumes my whole existence. An affliction deeper than the people's religion, and in the face of death, it has kept me living. And it places me in certain positions where I'm exposed and feel only friction, and my heroes that live do so from prisons. While I'm in the streets and trenches leading resistance, despite all fear, I'ma be persistent because it's clear that what I need to witness is a culmination of our dreams and visions, motivated by the co-creation of something different. Where our needs are met and we're not at war, and we're not in debt or hungry or poor. I want to be efficient and self-sufficient, so I'ma ask the elders with a wealth of wisdom. They said you can't avoid it, try to enjoy it. The contradictions will destroy us like this profit-driven unemployment. You know the jobless millions won't be voiceless as fools. Take advantage and try to rape the planet and then take for granted all the waste and damages. They privatize all the waves in the ocean due to rising tide. Civilization is broken. Now the crisis lies in the ways we have chosen. When the prices rise and our wages are frozen. Currently, it's all a state of emergency. Hurry, we urgently need more currency. I spit succinctly for a sick society, descriptive thinking of a deep variety. Class war. That's all we class for. The police task forces in the streets with masks on. They won't take the mask off or drop the shotgun or hesitate to pepper spray your kids in the hot sun. Racist inequity provides for your basic necessities denied, your shelter, electricity, and human rights despite color or ethnicity. That's what we fight for. I dangle my feet over the edge of the apocalypse. I'm thinking of taking a leap. Whatever the consequence, nothing to lose but blood and consciousness. And the path that I choose is a proof that I exist. Critical mass, physical confidence, to feel the people with my back on every continent. Study the past, subvert the dominant, deconstruct, analyze, reorganize a metropolis. Yeah. So, Tom Tegner, the homie Tom, Malcolm Shabazz Hoover, y'all want to join me on stage? I love being in this space. It's, obviously organized religion is problematic, but I don't have to be up here in the problematic part. I can just be up here with the homies and with y'all. You know, it's a trip because this organization is not a religious organization, but the fact that it's in a church, right, still has a lot of reverence. But I think tonight I can curse in the church if I feel like it. Permission granted. Damn, look at them boots, Tom.
They're Danners.
Those are fire. Okay.
They're waterproof. It's winter.
That's right. So we're just gonna kind of shoot the shit for a while. The format of the evening is as follows. Tom, Malcolm, and me letting y'all know about why we're doing what we're doing and what we're up to, who we are. And then we're gonna take a brief intermission, and then Julianne Johnson is gonna facilitate a more formal conversation. What's up, brother?
I was getting tea. Someone's coming.
All good, man.
Chronically late, even to my own shit. I'm here and I'm still late.
Either one of you want to start? Set it off?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody who came out on a Tuesday to talk about this heavy-ass topic. Thank you. And thank you to you two cats, man. Like, we'll talk about this, but y'all don't know, like, this has been a dream of mine for a really long time, like, the better part of a decade. Oh, there, thank you. Microphone controller. as somebody who does not use a microphone professionally, it's a really long, like, it's been a dream. So, like, to have my motorcycle on stage, that's Tom's fire-ass helmet, though. To be sitting up here with y'all, to be able to really articulate and talk about this, and, like, to see this to come to fruition in so many ways is beautiful. And so thank you. I just, like, really thank you. Thank you for doing this with me. Thank you for, like, putting your blood, sweat, and tears into it. Thank you all for coming and for being at the forefront of a movement, because we need for this to happen. Like, the world is fucking falling apart, so, like, we have to do better. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, Julianne asked me, what do I want people to take away from this? And I think my reply is that we can all do good things. And that if we can combine doing good things with the things that we love, then that's something. That's actually quite incredible, you know, if we have the privilege to not only do what we love, but contribute something while we're enjoying ourselves and being in community, then that's the way. I think it's easy to look at what's happening in the world and get really discouraged. I've never been able to separate my interpersonal from the world at large. That's just who I am. So I'm impacted by what I see, not just in my community, but on the global stage, you know? And it can be really discouraging, especially right now with what's happening with Israel and Palestine, it's like how the level of compartmentalization that is often required just to get through life is akin to psychosis, right? And to know that we coexist in a world where people are losing everything, whole families are being wiped off the face of the planet. And then at the same time, I can go in my house and turn on the lights, you know, and prepare a meal and come down, ride my motorcycle down here and sit and be completely in good health, you know. And so that awareness is mind-blowing, but somewhere in the core of our consciousness, we understand that what happens anywhere impacts everyone everywhere. And it's only a matter of time before we are going to experience things that we look at in horror. So let's do the best we can with the time that we have.
Yeah.
You dig?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, like with everything that's going on in the world, in our country, in our community, like we have to build community because we're facing fascism again, like in a very real way. Like news ain't gonna tell you that that's what it is. You know, most of it won't. But we have to build community. We have to find ways to talk to people that maybe don't realize that's what's happening, rather than just drawing a line like with normal people. Like find a way to talk to them and be like, look, this is fucking happening. Because if we don't, like everything is, it's really close. Everything's really close to falling apart with what we see in the world and what we see in this country. And the only way the biggest impact we can have is in our communities, and that's going to be with talking to people and trying to get people to see that, and using, you know, the way that in the last like 6-7 years that we've even seen it divided in our city, which is, you know, it's a fairly liberal city, but it's just so divided that what can we use as some common ground to reach people to make them see what they're not seeing, so that they aren't perpetuating by their votes fascism, because it's coming. And I don't even know like how it's gonna work out, but like this next election, I'm like, and I'm not even propping up the Democrats, I'm just saying that's still way better than what's coming, because the alternate is going to be a very authoritarian, very fascist government that is going to strip away everything, every right, every protection that anybody has. We've already seen that with the reversal of Roe versus Wade, and which is like, who thought that would happen? But it did.
Yeah.
So we got to talk to people in our community, and that's what we're trying to do, is going around and talk to people that we agree with and we don't agree with, and we're going to put it up here. We're going to see those discussions and change people. Even as like are we going to make people radicals? Maybe not. I mean, it'd be rad if we made them radicals, but if we can at least sway people away from perpetuating fascism, that'd be rad.
Yeah.
So culture is, well, we'll show a clip and like be able to talk about what we're doing, but maybe I should start off and talk about like how I came up with this and like, so I'm originally from the Bay Area, a little town called East Palo Alto, and you know, I was writing a book and, well, let me back up. So my cousin was moving, and he was moving from one apartment complex to another one in San Jose, and there was a motorcycle in his neighbor's carport that was like a old dusty Honda Shadow, and it was like something was like, you could have this if you wanted it. And I'd never had a motorcycle, and so I left a note, and I came back and the note was gone. And then like a few days later, the guy called me and he's like, yeah, what are you talking about? We ended up both having been in the Navy, blah, 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 served in some of the same places. And he sold me this motorcycle for like $1,500. And I was like, man, this is beautiful. And then it sat in my backyard for 3 years. So my landlord was like, yo, if you don't do something with that motorcycle, I'm going to. And so I sent it to these dudes in San Francisco. They fixed it up for me and painted it. And then they called me like, yo, come get this bike. I was like, can you bring it to me? They were like, no, come ride this shit home. I was like, I don't know how to ride a motorcycle. They were like, what? You don't know how to ride a motorcycle? What's wrong with you? So there was this dread, if you do with dreadlocks, this dread who was there hanging out at the shop named Johnny. And he was like, come on, folks, I got you. And so that was like at 2 o'clock. So I don't know if anybody here is familiar with Bay Area traffic, but at 5 o'clock, I rode from San Francisco to Oakland over the Bay Bridge in my first solo ride. Yo. Talk about trial by fire. The Bay Bridge? Come on. But you couldn't tell me shit after that. I was like, yo, I'm a biker. Let's go. And like the next day I rode to LA, you know, and it woke up something in me, you know, like a thing woke up in me that I had been looking for a really long time. Like, I'm a third generation, like, community organizer, and, like, you know, like, my dad was in a Panther Party, and both of my grandfathers on both sides, like, organized for the NAACP, and, you know, like, this is in me. And being around on my bike, like, people would start talking to me, and, you know, now that I ride a Harley, like, I'm not gonna say I look down on Hondas, because I don't. But it's not a Honda, it's not a Harley, it's a Honda Davidson. You know, and people are like, oh, that's a cute bike for your starter bike. You'll get a Harley one day. I was like, that's expensive. I am poor. But yeah, I couldn't do it. So anyway, I was getting to these conversations with these people who would never have talked to me if I wasn't on a motorcycle. Like, they just would never, like, but I was such a weird, like, quirky dude, and I would just go anywhere, and you know, these big, like, super bear, tough dudes would be like, what kind of bike is that? Like, how'd you get that paint job? Like, what is that on your seat? Because my bike was painted red, black, and green. You know, I'm always unapologetically black wherever I am. And, you know, so I would get into these conversations with these dudes, and then I was like, yo, I should really do this. Like, things are happening. I'm learning things. Like, we're having these authentic exchanges. This is beautiful. You know, and as somebody who, like, got into anti-racist organizing at the age of, like, I don't know, 14, you always want to be in these spaces where you're not normally, right? Somebody's phone is ringing. It's not my phone. So anyway, yeah, I was like, I'm going to do this. So the first iteration was called Malcolm's American Ride. It was just going to be me with like a GoPro riding around and like hanging out in cafes and asking people if they would talk to me about America. And then like a bunch of stuff happened. That bike got stolen. Cocaine happened. A lot of cocaine happened. A lot of cocaine happened. I moved to Portland. I went to rehab. I met Mike like shortly after I got out of rehab. I met Mike, and I had been Mike's friend. My buddy turned me on to Mike's music. Shamako confirmed. Okay. Right. And then I met this dude, and like I fanboyed out a little bit. I was like, okay. And then we became friends, And I asked him if he would do this project with me, and he said yes. And then one day we was bullshitting, and he's like, what you thinking about asking Tom? And I was like, absolutely. 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 And we've been rocking ever since, man. That was about a year ago. And, so Malcolm's American Ride became Crenshaw and Shabazz. Crenshaw and Shabazz became Crenshaw, Shabazz, and the homie Tom. And that's who we are. And, I'm honored, man. I'm, really honored. Because there's not a lot of things that I feel like are super important in life. I'm 53, and I want to leave. I'm closer to the end than I am to the beginning. And I want to leave this world having really made a difference and knowing that I made the world a better place. And as somebody who grew up in an interracial family in a deeply racist city in Philadelphia, I know that teaching people to have difficult conversations about race and racism is really important, because as corny and as cheesy as it sounds, we are all just human beings, and we really want to be with each other. That's the truth. Human beings want to be with other human beings. I don't care how big you are, how small you are, how dark you are, how light you are, who you love, how you love. Human beings want to be with other human beings. We have a deep need for community, and the thing that creates racism is what creates patriarchy, is what creates sexism, is what creates queerphobia. It's all the same mechanism. It's all the same shit. And if you can get at any piece of it and pull that thing back and be like, hey, we're just human beings out here in the world, bro. I'm just trying to be human and be loved and to love people. Then you are revolutionary. That's right. And that's what this is about. As cool as it is really about taking this revolutionary stance that we are human beings and we want to and need to be with each other, and putting it on blast in an unlikely context, and sharing these tools with each other and having fun, man. That's what this is about. And so thank you for coming. I'm going home now. I've talked a lot. Yeah, so anyway, that's how we got to this point.
Malcolm, I'd like you to tell the story that you told me about when you were broke down and somebody you wouldn't expect to help you helped you.
Oh, it happened a couple times. Yeah. You talk about the Nazi?
Yeah. And this gets into the bike situation.
In LA?
Talk
about the dude in LA? With the shit
guy
on?
that helped you out with the stickers on his car.
Oh, shit. Okay, yeah. So, I'm going to tell a story real quick. So we went to the Born Free show in LA, and people had messed with our bikes, especially my bike, in the parking lot, and had just taken a bunch of stuff off. And I was really nervous about riding my bike, because these fools had to be back in Portland, so they bounced. So I had to ride back to Portland by myself from LA, which was beautiful, by the way. But I was really nervous about getting on the road with this bike that had obviously been tampered with. So, I got on Book of the Face, and I was like, hey, any mechanics in LA? And, my recovery community showed up for me, and they were like, yo, go see this dude in such and such a place. So I was like, okay, I pulled up. He's like an old, biker dude, long hair. Had a couple bikes in his garage. He was like, what is that? And he's like, never mind what it is. Just put the shit on the lift. And we start talking. So I'm there 20 minutes, and he's got this old shovel head, which is a beautiful, beautiful piece of machinery. A shovel head is the quintessential American motorcycle. I am determined to have one before I go. And then I look at the bike, and then he tells me, he's like, there's like 3, on the leather bra, on the tank thing, there's 3 Nazi badges. Heil Hitler on all 3, like, not like the Iron Cross, not some subtle shit, like Nazi, like red, like, and you know, like I lightweight panicked. And I was like, what? And he was like, well, you know, that was my old days when I was young and da-da-da-da, and, you know, before I got clean. I was like, but this shit is still on your bike. You know? And then we had this conversation about, like, how he had made this transformation from being, like, an active prison gang racist to, like, you know, the person he was. Now, I'm not going to say he wasn't racist, but he ain't poisoned me. You know, he worked on my bike. I took him to lunch. But I will say this, is that he was a very gentle man, and he was clearly conflicted about this shit on his bike. I was like, look, you could take that off. Your bike is going to run the same. And I told him, I said, had I seen that when I first got here, I would have just turned around. And he was like, yeah, I get it. But, and there's a lot of other things that happen in these spaces, but, you know, motorcycles bring people together. And you can totally just be in your own little world and never talk to anybody different than you. But quite frequently, you get to be in places with people who are very different from you in a lot of ways. But the thing that matters most at that time is that you love these bikes. And you get to bond over that and, like, discover each other through that. And, yeah, it was a really interesting experience. It was, I mean, I think I grew from it, you know, because I'm an on-site person with Nazis, you know, like, and when I mean on-site, like, you're my blood enemy, and there's no room for the two of us to coexist. There's not enough oxygen in this room for me and you to breathe at the same time. Like, one of us got to go, and you could go meet Jesus today. I will set up the appointment. I will gladly facilitate your entry to wherever you're going in the afterlife, homie. And nobody is going to be mad at me for that. Nobody who loves and respects me is going to misunderstand and be mad at me because I sent you on your way. But this just wasn't that kind of place. And, you know, he was fixing my bike, and he was somebody who had certain, you know, beliefs and proclivities. But he saw me as his brother, and he took care of me, you know. And it was like surreal.
And you may have made an impact that...
I may have. I ain't called
You
his
may have
ass.
planted a seed. You're a farmer. You do that.
I have not called him, so maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, thanks for reminding me, Tom.
Yeah.
Tom, you've got 30 years of anti-racist commitment. You're one of the first people I met when I came to Portland as a skinhead against racial prejudice. You were with the Portland, I guess, version of that. Now, after 30 years and being middle-aged and reflection, do you consider yourself an activist, or is that just who you are?
You know, I don't view it as activism, because I just kind of feel like if you're an okay person, you probably got a problem with fucking, like, racists and rapists and misogynists and fucking transphobes, like, and you just stand up to that. Like, so I don't consider it activism per se, but it's something that has to be fought, and you just do it. You know, to me, it's no different than you're walking around and then you see somebody getting the raw end of the stick and you jump in and defend them. Like, as a community, we should do that, right? Like, is it activism? I guess it is. But it's also just kind of doing the right thing.
Right.
So it's, to me, that shouldn't be considered radical. Now, I've done other activism on radical ends that's political, but on that front, I think that's just like basic human nature.
Yeah.
Should be, but it's unfortunately not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crenshaw,
Yes, sir.
what was your favorite? I want to show the video, but I want to ask you beforehand.
Yes.
Like, on our trip down, what was your favorite moment?
So, how many of you have ridden a motorcycle over 1,000 miles? Okay. So, there's this thing that happens for us, right? When we're in the weeks prior, we're just dreaming about it. We're like, man, I can't wait to take that trip. You're working extra shifts. You're covering all your bases, right? And then you get on that bike in that morning, and you're ecstatic. Somewhere around, for me, and maybe y'all can relate to this, you brothers as well, somewhere around the 5-hour mark, it starts to occur to you that this is work. Right? Yeah. So before we left, I'm like, we have a healthy competition going on, and Tom's always in the lead because how many motorcycles you got?
Counting the scooters?
Sure.
16.
Okay, so Tom's winning. So I was the first one to get a lowrider ST, and Tom got his, Malcolm got his. But in terms of accessorizing it and making the bike the most badass, Tom was always in the lead, right? So Tom got, these bikes come with a stock engine that's like 117 cubic inches. It's a big engine. And so Tom got a new rebuild on his engine and got it rebuilt and bumped it up to 128 cubic inches. So the bike is more powerful, it goes faster, it sounds gnarlier, it's dope, right? And so I'm like, okay, shit, I gotta keep up with Tom. So I went and did the same thing, right? But here's the funny part. When you get a new engine rebuild, you're supposed to break it in over a 500-mile period, kind of baby it, ride it gently. Because of circumstances beyond my control, I got my bike back the day we were supposed to leave. No, I got it back the day before, right? So I'm babying my bike on the way home. I'm liking the way it sounds and it feels. Fucking check engine light comes on. And I'm like, we gotta leave tomorrow, shit. Is there a way for us to baby the bikes to LA? And there isn't, because LA's far and you have to go fast. So, so the whole time, the morning, I'm on the way to meet up with the guys to rendezvous at 7:30 or whatever. My fucking bike dies. Mid-ride, it just conks out. I'm like stressed, bro. So like, we're riding to LA, and I'm stressed the whole time. There's, in the video of my GoPro, you can see my check engine light is on the whole time. And I'm really concerned that I'm gonna ruin my engine. And the mechanic is like, if you ruin this engine, I'm not gonna rebuild it for you. And I'm like, fuck. So at a certain point, all that stress became something that I could no longer carry. Because I'm living my dream. I've been dreaming about this for years, for months. We're on the bikes, we're riding in California, we're getting it done. There's a lot of interpersonal problems on the team. There's a lot of drama and personalities. And at a certain point, we hit the grapevine. My God. You guys, how many of you seen Tron? That movie Tron? It was Tron.
It was Tron.
It was like
Tron.
100, anywhere from 95 to 110 miles an hour for 2 hours straight. And being able to see your line because of the constant change in elevation, so you could your perspective was able to see at least a mile ahead of you in terms of how fast cars were going in each of the 5 lanes. There's every few hundred yards there was a sign, a big digital sign that says "Watch out for motorcycles." So people are being reminded, and there's
go faster.
and lane splitting is legal. And man, we were gone. That was one of the best times I've ever lived in my life.
Yeah, me too.
Now,
I was scared shitless.
I was lane splitting at 100 and I'm like looking for everybody, and then Mike flew by me between 2 cars over there. And I was like, oh, it's on.
it was good. But I'll tell you what, somewhere maybe an hour or two into the situation, I happened to look in my rearview mirror, and it looked like pieces of red hot steel wool
It was right after the bridge.
were flying out of my muffler.
I was behind him.
They were.
Yes.
And my heart sank. I thought, we're not even going to make it to LA. Damn. We pulled over. We got off our bikes. We looked at my pipe was glowing red.
It looked like a forge.
10 minutes.
It had been spitting flames. I was right behind I was like, what the is that?
The depths of hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that was my favorite part of the trip.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people who ride in here, but I had ridden from Seattle and pushed my bike like to 100, like, I'm going 100 miles an hour. These fools from the time we got off the Richmond Bridge all the way to Stockton, never less than 90 miles an hour. I lived in Oakland for 23 years. I was like, hi. I thought maybe we got pull over in Oakland and see the lake. Hell no. And it was a clinic. It was like at some point, and also my handlebars had been loose, right? Like we had stopped in Sonoma and got my handlebars tightened. So I rolled all the way from Portland to Sonoma with like dangerously loose handlebars. At some point, and I'm a man of faith, at some point, I had to put my faith in the Most High and say, you know what? I'm either going to live fully and be in this, or I'm going to die on this fucking bike today. But it was beautiful because these cats, like, I ride tail, and they just, all I had to do was follow their line and trust. And it was really beautiful for me. Like, I became a better person. I really did. It was like a thing about trust, about like family and kinship. I don't have music on my bike, so like I was just alone with my thoughts. A lot of times I was cursing out Tom because my bike is not blown out to 128 cubic inches. I have the stock engine. I'm like, don't y'all know I'm back here? I cannot physically go that fast. I'm scared. But it was great. It was really great. And it was also that is like I felt like I graduated. Like I think everybody in here has been in the 10th grade. When you go from the 10th grade to the 11th grade, and you're like, I'm a junior, that's how I felt. I felt like I'm not in the little kids, I'm with the big kids now. We rolling. I'm a Harley. It was cool. It was really cool. Can we show the clip? Let's show the clip. Okay. So we have a little bit more to share with y'all. So we've seen this, but nobody else has really seen this yet. That's my old bike. I'm Shabazz Hoover. I'm a writer, a farmer, an educator, community servant, and I also really love motorcycles. I came up with this idea to travel the nation and have conversations with everyday people about the state of the country. I met my brother, Mike Crenshaw, and I enlisted him in this effort.
I'm an educator, artist, activist, media producer, a whole bunch of stuff. I'm a motorcycle enthusiast too.
Mike and I decided that we would also bring in Tom, who's a longtime anti-racist activist. The three of us decided that we were gonna make this thing happen. We decided to call it Crenshaw, Shabazz, and the homie Tom. We'll be talking to cultural activists, political activists, politicians, workers, organizers, farmers, all kind of fun people. Come check us out. Crenshaw, Shabazz, and the homie Tom. Coming to a town near you. Vroom. So we, thank you. That was pretty cool, huh? That was pretty cool. In the beginning, I'm on my old bike. I had a Triumph Thunderbird, which is a fine bike for English gentlemen, but I'm an American hoodlum. I needed a hoodlum's bike, you know, so I got this. Name of my bike is Ancestors Dreaming. Because I always name all my inanimate objects, especially if you cost tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, that was pretty cool. We have a great crew. I don't think any of them came today, but they're great, and they followed us. And part of the reason we're raising money is we're not wealthy. And, you know, we believe in paying people. We support workers. And so that's what that GoFundMe is for, is to pay them. And I had no idea it was going to cost this much money to do this. I was like, yeah, we'll make a documentary. It'll be cool. You know, we'll get picked up on Netflix. Netflix ain't called us. Amazon ain't called us. Not even Tubi called us. Ain't nobody called us, y'all. So we're paying for this all out of our own pocket. We had a GoFundMe. The GoFundMe, we've raised about $10,000 so far. It is going to be at least $65,000 more for us to get this produced. Our goal is to produce 6 to 8 episodes of this, right? And then to be able to put that on a streaming platform and have it get picked up, and so we can continue to tell these stories and walk around and talk to interesting people, ride around and talk to interesting people. One thing I did learn is I will not be riding to every destination. That is, I am not going to ride all around the country on this, because I'm 53 years old, y'all, and I feel 53. If I was 23 or 33, maybe. But, you know, yeah, so, you know, it costs money. So people who have money should give us money so we can do this and share these tools with people. I think it's really important. Like, I came to Portland about 7 years ago, and I said earlier, drugs, right? Like, I came here with a really bad cocaine habit, and I was pretty broken, like, as a person. And, you know, I was in a bad marriage, and, like, my life was just bad. Like, I was suicidal. I'm just cut to the chase. And, you know, I went through some things. I didn't kill myself. I wasn't successful in killing myself. And I went into rehab, and I came out of rehab, and I met these people, Art and Shantae of Mudbone Grown, and they taught me how to farm, y'all. And it saved my life. Like, it literally saved my life. And I would not be here today if it wasn't for Art and Shantae at Mudbone Grown and Central City Concern, where I went to treatment. And this is the name of my farm, Black Futures Farm. So apparently we're the largest urban farm in Portland. We're in Southeast. And, you know, here I'm blessed to sit here 7 years later, you know, after I was standing on the steel bridge, begging to fall off, living a dream, you know, and really, like, being with people who I love, respect, and admire, doing something that the three of us deeply believe in. Like, these two cats, I did not know how heavy in the game and how influential they were until I saw the Baldies documentary. I don't know if you've seen it, but, like, in terms of anti-racist organizing and people who are about it, these are two of the most about it cats there are. Like, they lived it. They live it. And it has been something that they have lived since they were teenagers. And to embark on a project like this with two other human beings of this caliber is an honor. And it's a prize for me. You know, I don't have a lot of, like, friends. I know a lot of people. A lot of people know my name, but I don't have a lot of people who I would say, like, you're my friend. These are my brothers. And so this thing that means a lot to me, that they took on and have spent their own money and time and, like, taken time away from their families to help make this, with me, to be my partners in this. Like, I don't speak another language to tell you. I'm just trying to speak from my heart to tell you how important this is to me, Because if I go tomorrow, we got like a good, probably enough for like 3 or 4 episodes. So if I bounce out tomorrow, it's done. But I'm trying to get this thing made so we can share what we've learned. And it's a hard ass road. Fighting oppression and fascism in America, I would like to point out that America had the 2nd largest Nazi party in the world, is hard. Because it's a white supremacist country. And white supremacy is the rule of the day. I don't care what we say. The truth is, white supremacy is the rule of the day in America. And bucking against that, to say, actually, we would like to make America be America. We would like the land of the free, the home of the brave, to actually be that place where, like, oh, you could get a fair shot. You know, like, we want to build this egalitarian society where, like, all are welcome and people get to live to their potential, and this is not something that we hold against you. This is something that we actually embrace and love about you. Shit. That's hard, y'all. And to be with these 2 cats who are about it in a way that I'm about it, come on now. We got to get this done. We have to. Nobody else has done this. And I'm not trying to big us up and be like, oh, but this is a thing on a platform that is very American. I'm going to shut up because I've been talking a lot. That we really want to get done to share. And yeah, anyway.
Thank you, man. Yeah, brother. Thank you.
I want to throw in there that if you have a friend, take a week or 2 long bike trip with them, and at the end, if you're still friends, you're brothers or sisters.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
It's a way to make people
Because you
family.
run into a lot of problems, and you got to sort that shit out together.
That's right.
Or not.
It's a way to make family without having to make babies.
Less expensive
Thank
than
you,
children.
Mike, for not making babies with me.
So we were going to take a break, short intermission, and then we were going to come back and have a formal conversation facilitated by Julianne Johnson. Do you, I want to do a time check right quick. Have we hit that 45-minute mark? Okay. Right on. Thank you. Thank you. I grew up on the south side of Chicago. Well, I was raised the first part of my life on the south side of Chicago. I didn't see white folks unless they were teachers, mailmen, police officers, or bus drivers. And from that environment, I moved around every couple years or less because we were poor and my mom was trying to finish college. And some of the other cities that we moved into were smaller towns where my brother and I would be the only black kids in the school or some of the only black kids in class. What this did for me was it forced me to have to code switch. Like I was too young to have a context to know what was happening, but in order to get through in the white areas, I adopted the habits and the hobbies and the things that the white kids liked, and I fell in love with heavy metal and BMX, and then I would come back to the hood and people would be like, man, you what's wrong with you, man? And so by the time I got to high school, the only people I fit in with that I wanted to be around were kids in the punk scene. And in Minneapolis, a handful of us started a skinhead crew. And right around that time, Nazis started showing up. And so we fought against the Nazis. And that was one of the more impactful periods of growth in my life. Because at the age of 16, 17, 18, we were involved in this violent struggle to defend our communities against neo-Nazis and white supremacist gangs and organizations. And that is still who I am today, but the transformation that's taken place between then and now is I wanted to try to figure out how to confront the issues and the root causes of the issues without having to kill people, without maiming people, without having to go to prison as a guaranteed outcome of the way that I'm behaving in the community. And so I've been trying to figure out for years what are the ways that we can more effectively impact that don't involve taking lives or that don't involve a path where, you know, I'm going to probably die in violence. And that's where art, you know, became, and the message and the music and the lyricism became something that I choose to embark on from my time, almost from the beginning when I got to Portland. So I stayed involved in the relationships that were part of the community, but I wanted to distance myself from the violence, and that's my story, you know. That's what brings me into community with these brothers. That's what brings me to the stage. That's what puts me in the classrooms, in the work I do as a teaching artist. Somewhere in my youth, my mom had a lot of brothers. They all rode Kawasaki's, but one of my uncles rode a Harley. One of my uncles was a Hell's Lover, MC. He was a black outlaw. And all my uncles were the coolest men on earth, but when my Uncle Kenny rolled up on his Harley with his cut, with his three-piece patch on the back, being a kid who grew up, you know, watching Westerns, he looked like a badass gunslinger. You know, root for the bad guy, he was that guy. He was the bad guy, he was the villain, and it made a big impression on me. Fast forward many years later, I was out promoting, putting up posters for a hip hop show, and I looked, and about a block away, across the street, I saw three guys that reminded me of my Uncle Kenny, but I could tell by the way that they moved that they were closer to my age. And I said, let me go check this out. And I went over there, and it turns out that they were members of a local chapter of the Wheels of Soul, which is one of the bigger black outlaw motorcycle clubs in the United States. And predominantly black, they're not exclusive. And it turns out that one of the brothers that was leading the group was one of the first black people I met when I got to Portland. And so that, it was a giant sign for me. It was my opportunity to go, this is what I want to do. I want to rock with y'all. And I was like, what's it going to take to be involved? And they said, well, first you got to get a bike. And so I went out to Paradise and got my first Harley. Tom saw me get my first motorcycle crash. Tom watched me navigate the motorcycle club life and eventually move on from it. We've been through a lot together. Tristan sold me my current Harley, thank you. And yeah, it's good to be doing what we do. That's my story.
Yeah, I would touch on the violence that we did back then. Like, that was, like, philosophically, I'm not against that, just to be clear. But at some point, you kind of got to move on from it and look for different avenues. You know, I got arrested when I was 17, and I was in prison by the time I was 18, got out at 20 for dealing with Nazis, you know. So that's like, yeah, you don't want to go back down there. You know, and then we had another close call. That was like what I got out in 92, and we had another close call in 93 because we had a shootout with the Nazis. You know, there's other ways to do it for sure that are probably more effective, because unless you kill a guy, like, I've never beat a dude out of being a Nazi. Like that's probably not going to happen, right? Like, dude's fucking Nazi, you beat him up, and he's like still a Nazi. But you might go to prison. So, like, well, I want to go to prison for beating up a Nazi that's going to still be a Nazi. Maybe if you stop being a Nazi, there might be like some way to like do that. But you know, the stuff that we're doing now, you know, whether, you know, it's Malcolm through the Black Features Farm, or Mike through his music, or all of us through this, to reach people on a different level, it's the same work, and I think it can be more effective than what we've done, you know, in the past. And I'm not even like, I don't lose sleep at night for like what we did in the past. So like, it's okay, because who doesn't want to beat up a Nazi? So I just kind of wanted to like touch base on that. And then, you know, we've moved into other things, but we're still doing work in a different way. And also, I'm also going to say when we did it was like 80s and 90s. People didn't have cell phones. Send you to prison.
Right.
So think about, like, you know, how can you do anti-racist, anti-misogynistic, anti-trans, anti-queer? Like, how can you fight that in a positive way, and in a way that won't maybe send you to prison or whatever? Like, we don't need to leave bodies behind, but there's ways to do it. There's ways to do it. Communication and talking is one way, you know, and, you know, we had protests, you know, that we did, you know, to George Floyd and things like that, and Roe versus Wade, and we should absolutely do that. Like, we need to turn out. We need to build community, and when I think mass movement really builds to fight against that stuff. And when we talk about racism, we can't ignore that it's the racism, the misogyny. I mean, racism is misogyny. You know, you've got queer people, trans people, women, non-men. Everybody is being oppressed in this fucking country right now. And so when we talk about anti-racism, we're talking about all of that. Indigenous people, like, we live on fucking stolen land. Like, let's recognize that right now, like we do. So when we talk about anti-racism, I think everything that we're trying to do and that everybody should do is all of that. Because nobody's free if anybody's oppressed. And that's a fact. So we have to work to that. But we can do it non-violently. And I'm not saying, like, Nazi dude comes to the bar and he's fucking with people, knock the motherfucker up. Like, that's okay. But
Word, y'all ready to take a little intermission, or what were you going to say?
I just want to say this last thing about, because I'm also not against violent struggle, like, you know, at all. Like, I'm the son of a man who, when I was a kid, our house was firebombed twice. You know, like, I believe in violence as a tool to change people and to change society. Like, burn shit up. People listen when shit gets burned up. You know, like, maybe if I bust you upside your head, you might listen a little bit closer the next time I'm yelling and telling you I'm not comfortable. Like, it's not. So, you know, Malcolm X and Dr. King, right? I was in after Malcolm. I learned from Dr. Betty that actually Malcolm and Dr. King were close and friends and would correspond through telegrams and, like, secret messages, and they would coordinate their actions. And so the person who taught me to organize the most, my Uncle Bob, you know, he says, you know, my dad was in the Panther Party, my Uncle Bob was in SNCC. You have to have the iron fist and the velvet glove. You know, Malcolm was the iron fist. The nation was the iron fist. The people who Malcolm was in the street with and who he organized with was the iron fist. Dr. King was the velvet glove. So you either gonna come over here and hold hands with this velvet glove, and we're gonna march and get what we want, or you go deal with them. But they coordinated. And so when you are fighting for liberation, everything is on the table. Because you are fighting to be free. And, you know, I'm thinking about Palestine right now, right? Like, what happened is horrible. It's horrible. I've been to Palestine. I've been to Gaza. I was there. I spent like 3 weeks there, almost a whole month. And of all the places that I've been in my life, it is one of the places. I also went to Africa that same summer. It changed me as a person. And I don't have any answers, but I will tell you that nothing pains me more than to see people living like I saw them live there. And I'm talking about everybody. Because if I dehumanize you, I dehumanize myself. I can't be free if I'm walking around and in order for me to walk around, I got to put my foot on your neck. I am also in chains. White supremacy is a chain for all of us. All these things that prevent us from being, human beings with each other, some people got longer chains than others. But everybody got a chain. And until we break this goddamn chain, nobody is going to be a full human being. None of us. And I'm really trying to get us to enlist one another in getting rid of this shit. I'm probably not going to see it in my lifetime, but I have a granddaughter. I want my granddaughter to have a better quality of life. I don't want Arya to have to continue to prove her humanity to the country she was born into. And how long do we have to fight this goddamn fight? Because this is the same thing that my grandparents said, and my great-grandparents said, and my great-great-grandparents said, and whoever decided that we wasn't going to go back to Africa, whatever African made that decision, then no, we're going to stay here. Whoever made that dumbass decision probably said, well, maybe they can make it here in America. And wanted us to be accepted as full human beings, and wanted all of us to be accepted as full human beings. And we're just not. But we know better and we can do better. Okay, we're going to take a break because I have to pee.
Hey, can I want to just touch one thing and then we'll take a break real quick.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, people might be confused. Mike is like, oh yeah, I was hanging out with the skinhead guys. And then the Nazis come around. Right? Because a lot of people that grew up in the 80s, Geraldo, and Oprah and everything, like everybody thought that the skinheads were the Nazis. So the Nazis came after the actual skinheads. Like, skinheads wouldn't exist, ironically, without black culture and black music. It came out of when people from Jamaica started immigrating to England, and they were in these like working class neighborhoods and intermixing with the white working class kids that were there, and they had brought this Jamaican music, reggae. And you had the Rude Boys from Jamaica, and these kids in England were like, what? And out of that, we had the mods, you had the skinheads, you had all of that. And then that was in the 60s. And then in the 70s, in England, when the National Front started pushing in, they started recruiting the white skinheads in those rough neighborhoods and being like, this is why you're poor. This is where, and then like some people came over, and then it became, before that it wasn't, you wouldn't even say it was anti-racist, it was just multi-racist, racial, multiracial, and then in the 70s, at some point, we ended up with this white power segment of skinheads, and it came over to the United States, and a lot of people think, skinheads were Nazis, and then these dudes came out, and it was kind of the opposite. The Nazis came and we were already there. So a lot of people trip when you're like, oh yeah, we were like hanging out with the skinheads, and then the Nazis showed up. And so just to kind of clarify that for people that haven't been around in like the subculture, don't understand that skinhead cannot exist without black culture, because that's what it came out of, black culture and black music. And Nazis were just basically racist metalheads that shaved their heads and thought, this looks really cool. So anyway, now we can take a break.
Thank you. I have to pee.
Thank you.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm going to give you a normal blood sugar, but I'm just making it so that there's. I might, yeah. We'll see. So we might, actually, if you can watch those cords so that they don't go under the foot.
One of them already is, but just one sec.
Do this. And we get Julianne over there. Slide this back a little bit.
Boards out of feet.
So we're live streaming this, and it will be available. Actually, yeah, that's plenty. Plenty.
Okay.
And,
Boards are safe.
okay. She's got one. I thought we needed one more mic, but it's here. You're all set. Yeah, that's Julianne's.
Okay.
And it's going to be 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're good. One person didn't show. Oh. It was going to be 5. So one person didn't show. So his mother is out. We're good. Did people go home? No, go that way. See?
killing it? It's dope, man. Somebody was like, I'm sorry, there's not more people here. I'm like, it doesn't matter. No. Right people here. Yeah. I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. The Most High is in control.
For sure.
Absolutely.
My wife said I'm watching Yay Baby.
Screaming. I'm ready now. I got barbecue breath. I'm good.
That's one of the best things to have.
That grounds you at home, right?
That's what I said. Is there any better snack than barbecue potatoes?
Actual barbecue. Good barbecue.
I said barbecue potatoes.
My brisket.
A snack. You're not talking about a meal.
No, snack.
Your brisket.
My brisket.
No, barbecue. But
Tom's
dog,
brisket melts in your mouth. Tom makes a brisket.
Tom is a good smoker barbecue.
Yeah, and I do little country boils.
That would be dope. Maybe that would be one of the ways to get motorcycle culture influencers together. Yeah, at a private residence instead of a corporate restaurant or something.
Well, hello, everybody. How are you? You good? Show them how much you loved them for the first half. Hey, it's nice to see everyone out here. I'm Julianne Johnson, and I'm excited to be here with this panel because you all are rich in your history and defined in your commitment and overwhelming in your brotherhood with each other. I think it's beautiful to see, and now we're going to add a little different kind of spin. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing tonight?
I'm very, very good. Would you talk to us a little bit about who you are and what you're here to represent?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. So my name is Kirsten Madura. I run a nonprofit called Engines for Change. And our nonprofit is all about supporting motorcyclists around the world who use their bikes for social and environmental good. I started riding in 2016, around there. I was living in Nicaragua. I have a background in international development work, so I was doing some community solar projects and things of that nature. And every time I went anywhere that wasn't through work and in a truck, like a work truck, the only ways to get around in rural Nicaragua are to either rent a scooter or a dirt bike. And I didn't know how to ride a dirt bike, so I would rent these little 50cc, no-name brand scooters, and I would be taking them on these crazy, off-road trails and stuff because that's the only way you can get around. Completely inadequate for the types of road that I was on, but I didn't know how to ride, so I decided that if I wanted to continue doing work overseas, I would really need to learn how to ride. So I came back, got my license, and getting my license and learning how to ride really opened my eyes to what a crucial tool motorcycles are. Around the world in a lot of different countries, they're used for development tools, they're used as, it's very practical, right? A lot of families will share a motorcycle, a lot of communities will share a motorcycle. It's your only mode of transportation, it's your only way to access a lot of remote areas. And in the States, I think it looks a little bit different. Motorcycles around the world that I've found kind of help to address systemic problems that our institutions and our systems don't address. So in areas that have conservation, like wild lands, right? National parks. Park rangers use motorcycles for conservation efforts. In a lot of places, they're used for accessibility for public health reasons. So delivering medication out to rural clinics that you can't access otherwise. In the States, that looks different. We have a lot more infrastructure, but for us, it's often like mental health. That's a huge part of it, right? Community building. Motorcycles to me, connect people in ways that I've never seen anything else do. And if you're on a motorcycle and somebody else is on a motorcycle, you're immediately best friends. So I think that, so I think that this discussion around anti-racism and motorcycles is just so overlooked, but so profound. And there's so much opportunity to work within the motorcycle space in order to connect people and build bridges that maybe didn't otherwise exist or you didn't know existed. So I first met Malcolm last year, because I wanted to do a community building volunteer day with local motorcyclists. And so we ended up going out and volunteering, and through sort of that opportunity, I got to meet these guys and learn about all their amazing work, and was fortunate enough to be asked to be part of the film. So if you do watch one of the episodes, you'll see me, just spouting my thoughts about the topic. But it's really been an honor to be able to work with these guys and learn from them, and just kind of see the ways that these two worlds combine. So,
how does it feel being a woman in the biker community?
I have found that most of the people who treat you differently for being a woman are the ones who don't ride. You know what I mean? They're like, oh my God, a girl on a bike. And I'm like, all of the guys who ride are like, yeah, you're a girl on a bike. Like, anybody can ride a bike. I'm like, that's correct. So, bless you. So, I don't really think about it too much. I do a lot of stuff with women's empowerment. I've done a lot of publications, freelance journalism about women ridership and resources for us. And I think that the industry as a whole, again, going back to systemic oversight, the industry as a whole is not great about uplifting women and catering to our market and that type of thing. But when you get down to the grassroots community level, it's a relatively even playing field until you get on social media. But that's a whole different panel discussion.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
It's very interesting that you should say that, and I'm glad that people get a chance to hear it, because really, it's kind of a hidden understanding that there's a respect level that happens for everyone who rides, especially if you ride consistently. And the only experience that I had, and that's why I feel so honored to be here right now, because the only experience I ever had was my neighbor across the street was a biker. And he had his crew. They used to come over. We were a very mixed neighborhood, but it was the one time that when we were going to all go out to the beach as kids, it was the only time that my mom just went, yeah, take her, put her on the bike. And I was going, and I was like, are you trying to get rid of me? What's going on? But I realized that once we were out there, it was really freeing. It was really communal. There were so many people that would nod or give you, some recognition for being out there with the crew, with the group. And it was, for me, it opened my eyes to a whole nother community, that I didn't know existed. So I think these conversations that you're having today are really, really important. And the fact that you've committed your lives to doing the work, and it's not, it seems like it'd just be all fun. Y'all just jump on the bikes and you ride and you're fine, right? But isn't there, I heard you say, it's work, right? You said that too. It's mental work, it's spiritual work. So talk to me about that. What is it spiritually that gives you the commitment to keep doing this? What changed in you, or what set you in motion?
Do any of you guys have lucid dreams? So there's a thing that happens. I had one the other night. Every time I have a lucid dream, I'm grateful. There's a thing that happens where, in my lucid dreams where I fly, it starts off as gravity vanishes, and now I'm floating. But initially there's this fear, like, oh my God, I'm gonna fall, I'm going higher and higher, I'm not in control, I'm gonna fall, and I'm gonna die. And then once I realized, wait a minute, I can actually fly, and I can dip however I want to. That's that feeling. And that's what happens on a motorcycle. So the spiritual element is, there's something about motion and momentum and velocity and speed and the elements and observing the world go by while you're in control of this thing that can do what your body can't. That just, it makes me a better person in the sense that 20, 30 minutes, if I'm in a really bad mood, I can go for a short ride and turn it around. But it is labor. And now that, we have to ride defensively for our survival, so when we're in traffic, we're looking at people's rear view and their side view, and we're seeing where their eyes are. And 99.9% of people in cars are fucking looking at screens.
Yeah.
And we don't have a cage around us. And so if we get hit, we're at least gonna get injured, and we could die. But we still have to be connected to the freedom and the power of being able to move that way.
I really do believe that what you're saying is important, because when you stay connected with something that may not have you in their view, and then you stay connected with that, the outcome is always better than if you disengage, right? It's the same thing that if we get into communities where you find somebody that doesn't know you, care about you, like you, whatever, then what is it that's going to keep you engaged so that maybe you can have that transition that happened with you with the person who was a skinhead, right? Yeah, you have to stay engaged, right? So how do you do that?
We were talking earlier, and I was saying how I grew up in an interracial family. My stepmom was Irish, white, Quaker. Grew up in a very wealthy family, and as a result, and she was a nurse, and my dad also worked in hospitals. They got married in '76, so a very segregated neighborhood. Anyway, as a result of being a part of that family, my childhood was very diverse. And so we had Native friends, queer friends, Italians, Jews, like weirdo hoteps before there were black hoteps. Like one of my dad's friends was in Sun Ra's band, Sun Ra, the famous jazz musician. And this fool always dressed with like a headdress and shit and like all white robes. And he always dressed like that. Like he was always
in ceremony.
Yes. And like probably always on drugs too, but like it was the 70s, right? Like, so I grew up in a way that was very spiritual, because my stepmother was also Wiccan, and like was heavily psychic. Like you could not lie to this lady, and which also like gave me the power of telling the truth. I could never lie to my mom. I was just like, where were you? I was out like till 3 o'clock in the morning running the streets. Okay, because she could check up on me and like know I was all right. She would think about me and know I wasn't in any kind of peril, even if I wasn't home. And just, like I would walk in the house. My parents worked at night, and I would walk in the house and the phone would ring, and my mom would be like, why are you just getting home? I'm talking about 1984. Like you can't look on a phone and tell where your kid is. But she could feel when I walked in the house. Because, they worked at night, so I would just be out in the streets. But what keeps me connected is like, as an adult, like really wanting to have that feeling that I had as a child of being in this loving and deep community that held me. The community that I lived in before I moved in Philadelphia was Nairobi, California, which was an intentional Pan-Africanist community where like everybody in my whole world was black. And they loved me. And they loved all the children. And we grew up in each other's houses. And I got a bunch of uncles, aunts, and cousins who are no blood relation to me, but are my family because we all grew up together. And were loved. And like, You know, and I want that for everybody. Like, I really want that I want everybody to know what that feels like, to grow up and to be held by one another and to like deeply love each other as human beings. And I think that America and the Western society and capitalism and all these other isms that we embrace for money and for status divides us and pulls us away from that truth. And I've lived it, y'all. This is not like some high theory shit. Like, I lived it, so I know it's possible. And I want more people to have access to that. And the only way I know to access it is to live it and to like be it.
And to create it.
And to create it, right? So like, that's what I try to do at my farm. I try to recreate that experience for black people. If you're black, you're welcome. We grow food to feed people. We don't sell our produce. We donate almost 100% of it. And it's been a spiritual exercise for me. Like, you know, I'm a Pisces, so like I live in the world of the invisible, you know, like I'm a real Pisces. But this also is an outgrowth of like really trying to create. I do the same thing everywhere I go. I'm always organizing, always organize. The only way out of your problem is to organize. And so, you know, I'm organizing and I'm trying to recreate this beautiful experience that I know is possible for all of us if we could like touch it. If you touch it, if you get a little taste of it, then you want more of it. You know, it's like going fast. Like, once I went 120 on my Harley, shit. Like, I also am going to get a bigger engine now. Mirabai, you didn't see that.
That's really great.
Mirabai's my wife, the boss.
Yeah, I think I hear you too, that, you know, you are remembering. I think every person in here has had a moment, some moment, where you felt like, oh, I need to pinch myself or something because this is not real. This cannot be real. It feels so good. It feels so right. You don't have long moments like that. It's fleeting. But if you can hold on to it, that's the seed that makes you compelled to recreate it again. That's the seed. But it doesn't happen quickly. I mean, it doesn't happen for a long period. It doesn't sustain itself. You have to sustain it. And I think being in a community, which is what I love what you were talking about, being in a community where everybody is focused on that goal. Literally, I mean, I just spent probably 20 minutes with 650,000 people on the mall in Washington that all flew there for peace. They paid their way. They showed up from 200 different countries. But they paid their way to come and have an experience of peace. So the globe is doing exactly what there are people, pockets around the globe that are trying to make this happen. And I'm just, God, I'm so overwhelmed and proud to see you all together. You the clincher here. Because when I see you here after all of our experiences, there has to be something that the universe said, this needs to be. It needs to be. So what was the catalyst? Just that, and I'm asking for something really difficult. I'm going, go back to that moment where you knew you were embarking upon something new. You did not want to be in the old existence.
Well, that's interesting. You know, when I was younger, I got camaraderie and brotherhood through, we'd go out and risk our lives and beat the shit out of Nazis, right? Like, that's what we did. And we built our community around that. And I think, like, you know, Mike and I got into motorcycles, you know, and like, you meet people, you do stuff, but like, I got riding and I'm like, I just started riding by myself. I was like, I want to ride a bike. And, cause like, oh, that's edgy and fast and, you know, like, but then I started riding with people and I'm like, now you're building that same camaraderie, that same like type of community that maybe we had back then through the motorcycles. And then it's also a weird conundrum. It's like, so you're out with your friends and you're building brotherhood and sisterhood and you're riding because you know if shit goes down, mechanically or worse, we're there. We got each other's back. We run other riders. We're gonna help them out too. But at the same time, when you're utterly alone. You're inside your helmet, right? And like I like think this shit through sometimes. But then I was like, okay, I'm in my helmet. I'm doing nothing. I'm zoning out. It's the road. But at the same time, every sense is firing. All of my reflex are going. So there's two opposite things happening at the same time. I'm with my people, but I'm alone. I'm doing nothing. But all my senses are firing. Right? Like, so it's like, I know how to ride. I'm perfectly safe. Also, I could die at any moment. But when you pull all that through, you go back to like coming out of it, especially like coming out of skinny gangs and all of that stuff. When I got married, I started having kids, and I'm like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. And I moved away for a while. I came back, and then I got into bikes because I was like, I still gotta fucking be gnarly, like I gotta do some shit. And then I start meeting people, and then you're like, oh, this is the same, like this like on a family, brotherhood, sisterhood level, it's the same shit. Because we still have to have each other's back, and you're like, wow. But it's like more wholesome at the same time. And then when we get done, and we're at the bar or wherever we're at, and we're talking about shit. We ain't talking about the dude that we put in the hospital. We're talking about that road. We're talking about, but then we start talking about like life goals. Like Mike and I always. Malcolm too. We talk about what we want to do with our lives, like all this other stuff that is actually better because like now we're like in a situation where we're still doing all this crazy shit, or we could die. But like this community that we built and what we've done with each other is like we're lifting each other up. Like, how can you succeed? How can you be happy? Like, we're calling each other in the middle of the night. Like, oh, this happened. Like, what do you think? So I don't know. I mean, that's kind of where I go with it. It's like a weird.
No, you just said it's interwoven. It's all interwoven, and you have this opportunity to trust the community that's around you enough to let your mind take on that extra space while you're driving, so that you're not, that somebody's got your back.
Right.
If something should happen, right? And that's freedom, right? That gives us the freedom to be who we need to be. If we can surrounding yourself with free thinkers, and when I say that, I'm talking about folks that if you are waiting for somebody to reach towards you, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. If you have the tools to reach towards somebody, then guess what that goes along with that? You have the responsibility to reach toward them too, because they don't have the tools to do it. You're waiting for them to do something they don't know how to do, right? So what I'm applauding here with all of you, and I want you to say what you need to say too. Go ahead and say it first, because it's really important.
I mean, I think that is kind of, at least that's the ultimate goal for why I started this organization, right? Is, as you mentioned, there's this entire community of people who are individuals who have this altruism just ingrained in them, where they're like, okay, I'm on a bike. If I see somebody else pulled over on the side of the road having issues, a biker is going to, or even in a car, for the most part, a biker is going to be the first person to pull over and help that person. You're talking about sort of like the catalyst and what sparked you. For me, it was the pandemic. I was in New York City. We had done we started with the beach cleanup, the organization, and was going to keep doing things like that, and then the pandemic hit and everything shut down, and there was no movement. There were no logistics. There was no way to get anything out. So people wanted to help. I mean, New York City is like the city that will come together in a crisis. And so you have Broadway tailors who are out of business. There's no Broadway shows, and they're sitting at home sewing face masks. You have distilleries who can't sell alcohol because they can't physically get it to you, and they turn their operations to making hand sanitizers. But then how do you get those supplies to the hospitals and to the people who need them? There was a group of us in New York City who organized motorcyclists, and I got COVID like right away. I mean, before we even knew what it was, really. And so I sat there, quarantining, going, well, I want to help. So I started reaching out to all these pop-up, places that were making hand sanitizer and face masks and whatnot. And I was like, hey, I have an entire group of motorcyclists who are just itching to get out and do something and ride and also help and want an excuse to do something positive, because they're the first people who are going to pull over on the side of the road. And that was really the impetus where I was like, this is just in New York City. Imagine how many people, how many riders there are around the United States, around North America, and the whole world who just want to do this. And there are some of the people we're supporting overseas are, there's a group in Kenya who's using motorcycles to deliver clothing and food and medical supplies to children living on the streets. There are park rangers in Peru who are trying to support, who use motorcycles for wildlife conservation efforts. And all over the world there are people doing this. And to your point, if you give people the tools to organize within their own communities and to leverage this collective, you guys talked about activism earlier. Activism has a little bit of a, it's a heavy word. There's a lot associated with it. But if you're out there and you're trying to make a change, even if that's pulling over to the side of the road to help somebody else, that is a form of activism. And imagine if we mobilized all of the activists on motorcycles around the world and mobilized them toward a common cause like anti-racism. What kind of change could we make? So I think, there's a long history of MCs, which is a very interesting history, and if you guys don't know about it, definitely read into it. But, it's the MC culture started as a way for post-war vets to build a community to cope with PTSD and all of these things that they had seen that there was no systemic support to help with. There were no communities already built for them, so they built their own. And motorcyclists have a rich history of mobilizing for a common cause. So I encourage everybody here who does ride to do that. And what we're all trying to do is build these tools so that you guys have an easier time engaging and helping and mobilizing.
Yeah, because the word that always is asked is, what do I do? What can I do? You feel like, okay, they have their group, we have a community that we bike with, but what can I do myself with the people that I'm connected to? And how do we get it started? I don't know, are those some questions that maybe you want to find out about? How do you start this yourself? Or how do you join forces? The support that we can give here is, with this project, is to make sure that we get the word out to the masses, okay? And you just tell your friends and you give them the GoFundMe and you let people do what they're gonna do. But then what is the impetus for me to step into the movement? For me, the first thing that's crossed my mind is I need to learn how to ride a bike.
It only takes a weekend.
That's
it only takes one weekend.
You know what I'm saying? I have to get that squared away so that I can actually help. But maybe that part is not for me. Maybe the part that's for me is to encourage people to get to the right folks that can empower them to make change happen. So there's so many different levels. I was talking to you about about going to a college and having them write a grant. And that would free her up to be in the movement again. Because what happens, right, when you're starting things up, you tend to get into the business mode of it, and you get disconnected from your actual inspiration and your path. What I love that's happened with all of you is that you're not disconnected, So how do we make that happen? What kind of help do you need to further what you're doing?
Money.
Money.
Money. The answer to all of those questions is money. No, so there's money, but everybody doesn't have money to give. Like, I'm really lucky that, like I work for the city of Portland in Parks and Rec, and I get a healthy salary, and I was able to run up all my credit cards, honestly, and like that day I had to give the dudes like $4,000. Like I had some money laying around. God, my wife is watching this, and I'm so sorry, babe. I cashed that out, and I paid these dudes $4,000, and I was like, I've never given that much money to anybody, like, but this is my dream, and so I'll tell you a quick story. I woke up like maybe 2 months ago, and the dudes have heard this. I woke up like 2 months ago, and I'm always talking to the Most High. I was like, God, I'm tired. And God said, you're tired? You're tired of this life that you prayed for? You're tired of this nice warm bed and this motorcycle and that truck outside? Like, you're tired? I was like, yeah, I'm tired. And God said, well, I'll tell you what. You do what you're supposed to do. Do the most. Pour everything you have into this. You do what you're supposed to do, and then you let me do what I'm supposed to do. You do what you're supposed to do, and then you watch me work. And my life has been like this magical assemblage of just like things, right? If I tell you some of the things that have happened to me in my life, you would not believe them. And sometimes I have to call other people and be like, did that really happen? Because I live that kind of life. I live a life that is fueled by like this faith and this magic. And so I know, and I know I sound like a preacher, but I promise you I know this, that this is important. I know it. And I don't know why me and why us, but I do know that I have to. And I do know that there is nothing that I have that I cannot push towards this to make it successful. I know it. And I know that it's bigger than me and it's bigger than us. Like, I know it. And so I have to give proper service to it. I have to. And I know that once I've poured and and sometimes I'll be lagging. Like, I don't return emails or things fall off, but like my heart is in this. And like, I'll be telling my boss, you kiss my ass, bro. Like, I got shit to do. And it's bigger than this job. He's not watching this. I don't really tell him that, but I say it in my mind. In my mind, I be saying it. No, seriously, like, and people who know me know that, like, I'm a dreamer, right? Like, I'm a dreamer. And nothing that I have in this world came from anything but a dream. And so I pour into it, y'all. Like, I pour into this. And it's insane to me because, like, Mike is an actual fucking rock star. Like, that's a real rock. That man is famous. Right? And, like, Tom is very humble, but I promise you, if my back is up against a wall, I'm looking for Tom. Because we getting out.
And I'm going to tell you something, too. People are taking cues from how he responds to you. You have to understand that, right? We all know that, right? Because we live in America.
Yeah.
Right? We live in America, and so if you have a group of white people who are looking to see what's going on with this, they have to see that there is someone who actually believes in this, that looks like them. Now, my stepfather was white too, so I got some experience behind me on it. But what I'm saying to you is, when you listen to people say ageism, say, racism, all those isms divide us so much that we can't get the momentum of the community, right? It just drives me crazy because we're not supposed to be, just like you said, divided. We're not supposed to be apart from each other. We knew that from the pandemic. You just talked about the pandemic. Yeah? Separation, you see how crazy people got behind it? Because we couldn't touch each other. We couldn't feel each other. We couldn't be in the same room. We need that. Because that's part of our compassion and our conscience. And so what I'm going to ask you now, this is really something that I'm wondering about. How do we get people to feel the authenticity of what you're doing? How do we do that?
I think the stories of the people that we're interviewing, like Kirsten, Hannah Mayrie, who's in our will be in our first episode, speak for themselves, because we're not asking people to be anything other than who they are. So I think the authenticity will carry through. I'm hoping that that's coming across for all of you, and I'm hoping that you all talk to people that you know and pass the link to the website, to the GoFundMe, and so forth around, because we want to spread the word.
Yeah.
I mean, we're real people. Like, we're real. I keep it a buck all the time.
Yeah.
And this path has led me to these other, beautiful human beings. And that's how you know you're doing the right thing. You're on the right path when things happen for you that you could not have made happen for yourself, right? When things that are beyond your personal power and sphere of influence drop in front of you, when you meet people coincidentally, when people put people in front of you, when somebody says, the people who cut this together for us, Lucky Day TV, I was in line at a coffee shop having a conversation with the person in front of me, and the guy in back of me was like, hey, I work at a post-production studio. That sounds like a really important project. Could you tell me more about it? Can I tell you that they told us that it would cost $200,000, that the value of the work that they're doing for us is $200,000, and they're doing it for free until we get funded, because they believe in it. What? When does that happen? So it's that's how I know it's right and it's real, because things like that continue to happen. I didn't go find her.
I found you.
Right? This, I didn't have to love Tom.
Right.
Oh, yes, you did.
Yeah. I mean, I did. I did.
Yeah.
But, that's all. And I know, because, we keep it 100 with each other. We've gone through some shit. We've gone through some shit. And even, it's TV, whatever, but it's real. And I want that to come across on the screen. These are real people having real experiences, sharing real things for the benefit of other people. That's the bottom line.
That's great. That's great. So there is something to the magic of having a dream or a vision come to fruition and people connecting to it. Cynicism in our world keeps us from seeing the mysticism of our lives.
You said that again in the mic.
Yeah, I don't know if I can, because sometimes things channel. The cynicism in our world keeps us from seeing the mysticism in our lives.
Wow, that's dope.
Right? We are always kind of going on this wave that is guiding us to what we're supposed to do. But the minute we backpedal Or we think, oh, that's just something, I don't know what that is. That doesn't make any sense. It never does make sense until you activate. The minute you activate, oh my God, everything makes sense. It all falls into place. So I love that you said you were Pisces because, yes, yay and hello. But because we're kind of the wonky ones that dream, you know? But we dream in vivid color, right? You do the same thing. You do the same thing, I'm sure, because otherwise you wouldn't even be here, right? You see things clearly at moments when you should be unconscious. But you're seeing what it needs to be, and then you move on it. That, I worried because during the protests, we didn't have any music really that came out of it until people with spoken word who could come and encapsulate what we were trying to say. Because it wasn't for the musicians at that time. At that time, see, 9/11, we had musicians that were like, oh, you know, making all kinds of music to define the moment. But when we got into the pandemic, I think we didn't have that moment because we needed to quiet ourselves and go in and listen and become and absorb and see what happens when we don't have a footprint. What happened in your lives? What did you see? I saw nature. Nature just went crazy, right? So if we can help have that happen again with us actually participating, then that's the hate. That's when hate changes, right? You're making hate change. You're making it, you're redefining fear of the other. Think about it. Who's your other in your life? The person that, or the group that you walk up to and you walk around them because you don't want to engage, or something in you says fear, or back up, or you get angry without them even saying anything. That's your other, right? So what I'm hoping and I'm praying, and I can see it happening, is that internally, if you define your other by saying, I am somebody else's other. You are someone else's other. Meaning they're going to be afraid of you too. So how are we going to get to that place where everybody still takes the next step? Building community, I think, I hope. So I love what you're doing. Tell us exactly how to engage. How do we engage? How do we do it? Yeah, go ahead. You haven't spoken first.
I would say, how do you engage? Like, we're doing this and we're engaging in people, and we've done other things. Malcolm engages people through his Black Futures Farm. Mm-hmm. Mike engages people through his music and his work he does with the schools, and I engage people, motorcycles and different activist type stuff that I've done. But what everybody could do is look at where can I engage, is like, what is your community? Where can you build your community? And that also gets into like your other question on like how you could help us. I can tell you how you can help us. Build some community somewhere where you can do it. It might not be motorcycles, but build that community and then build out from there and do the same thing. It doesn't have to be motorcycles. It could be anything. Anything. There's a lot of stuff out there that people, like, this is where I bond with people on that. So if you have something where you bond with people, then build that friggin' community. That's how you could help us, because that would be exactly what we're doing. We're doing it how we know how to do it and where we can connect. But if you can do that, then you can make some change. And it's, you gotta think about like change. We'll see some incremental change if we all do that. But like history is a book in this chapters, and like what we're doing right now is like, if we're lucky, as a chapter, all of us collectively in this room, lucky if it's a chapter. But that's what we leave behind. Our life's worth something if we wrote a chapter that moved the end of that story to a positive ending. So if you can find ways that you can build community on the things that maybe it's kayaking, I don't know, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be motorcycles. Find something that inspires you, and then use that to build a community, and then change that cultural or social dynamic to something that empowers everybody and includes everybody. And that's how the end of the story is a happy ending and not a bad ending. I think that's like, really, we're judged by the way we left behind. Like when we're done, we're a carcass. Nobody's gonna remember us unless we did good stuff or bad stuff. Let's do the good stuff. Build the community, do that, make that chapter fucking work. So that's how you can help me, I know, and everybody else would feel the same, is you find out what your community is, and then you use that to build something similar, this positive and empowering.
I mean, yeah, I agree with that. I think that no single person's involvement or path or impact is ever going to look exactly the same. So if you're following in someone else's path, you know, think about like, well, where are your strengths? Where are the things that you can bring? You know, and where does that fit in? And what would success and impact and positivity look like to you at the end of a day? Like one of our organizers who runs the Canada Toronto chapter, she is very into animal rescue. And so she's run a number of, you know, volunteer days with local animal shelters in Toronto, which I have never done. My background's in environment and international development. Like, animals are cute, but like that's not the reason that I get up in the morning. Sorry. But, you know, everybody kind of has their own thing. And I think, you know, kind of going back to your point about introspection and how we were put in a place where we had, you know, during the pandemic, where we had to kind of reflect on like what is important to me and who is important to me, and building out from that is the best way to start. And I think that in terms of actual engagement, like there are a couple paths. There's like the pragmatic, logistical, like if you want to get involved in Engines for Change, I would love to have your help, grant writing, coming to volunteer days, coming out and, you know, working on the farm, that kind of stuff. But I think that there's something to be said for the small everyday changes and engaging not only in your community, but getting a little bit outside of your comfort zone. You know, you were saying, both of you were saying that when you start moving in the right directions, things just start flowing and the right people start coming into your lives, and putting yourselves in positions where you are finding, like where that path is able to open itself to you, where you are not just sitting on, I mean, I work in the environmental space. Climate anxiety is real. My best friend and I work in this space, and we doom scroll and send each other awful, like, here's like the extinct species that just got taken off the endangered species list today because they are extinct. Like, that is what I woke up to. It's awful, you know? But the more you like sit in your bubble, the more you sit on your computer screen or on your phone and just read about how awful the world is, like the more you're going to be blocked to actually making some sort of change for yourself. Like I working in the environmental field, I'm never going to bring those species back. I don't really work directly in conservation, so I can't guarantee that I'm going to save any other species, but I can sit up here today and talk about this and engage with you guys and engage with all of you and hope to like help inspire everybody to make their own change. So by meeting different people, by exposing yourself to communities that you maybe don't have access to. I mean, I know we haven't directly talked about at least my background with, you know, racism and anti-racism, but like I didn't grow up around black people. I grew up splitting time between Woodburn, Oregon and West Palm Beach, Florida, and everyone was white or Mexican. So it took me a long time to really wake up, I guess, to like, you know, learn about the racist history of our state I didn't learn that till I was well into my 30s, and I had to learn it on my own. And I was like, how did nobody tell me about this? If you guys don't know about that, you should learn. But just putting yourselves in positions that you might not normally find yourselves in, with an open mind, and then saying like, okay, how can I help to open other people's minds? I think is really important.
Yeah. I'd just like each person to give the call to whatever you need from this group, because every one of you that showed up tonight, I know we were talking a little bit, someone had said something to one of the panelists about, oh, I wish there were more people. There were the right people. Nothing's an accident. Nothing. So even if we had 3 people, there would be 3 of the right people to have this experience. So that makes you very, very important and really special to what these great people are trying to do. And if you engage in any way, just know that it's going to help, okay? In some way, even if it's just giving encouragement, because I know the hard work, if folks don't come up and just every once in a while go, yeah, right on, that was great. You don't look for it, but when it happens, you kind of go, oh, yeah, it is kind of good, isn't it? So I just hope there's a way for us to do this. Think about how many coffees you drink per week and donate the coffee money. Just kidding. But deep. Go. If you have something to donate, please do. If you have a friend that can donate on a large scale, let us know. Because they're at this point now where if we don't, it's the dollars, just like you said. We have to make it. And I'm just really wanting you guys now to just leave them with what you want them to have right now. Okay? And I'm going to go this way, and this way, and this way, and I'm going to let you finish it. Because I hope you have something to, what do you want to leave with them?
I would just leave with what I was talking about earlier, where our generation is writing a chapter in a book. And that book can have any kind of ending depending on what we write in it. So walk away from here and think about how you can build community and impact your community to the best of your ability in a positive way. I mean, at the end of the day, that's why we're here. We have nothing else to leave behind other than what we leave behind and the impact we did. So think about that when you leave. It's like, I'm 51. I think about it every day. I'm like, what do I got? 10, 15, 20, 25, 30? I don't know.
40.
I have no idea what I got left. But I can fuck it all off. Or I can try to, I'm going to have a good time for sure. But also, motorcycles. But I want to build community and I want to impact my community and I want to be around positivity and build things that work for everybody. It's not just me having fun. Like, I want everybody I know and everybody I come across to be like enjoying life too. We live in a terrible world. Suicides at all-time high level, murders at an all-time level. There's wars happening everywhere. I can't impact that. What I can impact is everything that radiates outward from me. And hopefully that's a disease and it becomes contagious and hopefully I'm like radiating good things. But like that's what I would like for you guys to take away, right? Is like go out and just be like, what can I do? Every little bit is a piece of that puzzle that writes a page in that chapter. So don't say, oh, this isn't big enough or it's not. It doesn't need to be big. Just do something. Just go out and help, whether it's helping homeless people or houseless people, or just helping your neighbor. Like whatever you can do, do it. Do it. Every little bit of it takes us away from this evil that's like sitting in front of us. That's all I can say.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Go ahead.
Such a blessing to sit here and to like be able to participate in this, like, and I mean blessing in the sense that a blessing is a gift. What do I want to leave y'all with? Well, let me turn to look at you. Like, I want to say thank you. Like, I have the deepest gratitude for you sitting up here and listening to us ramble and like pontificate. So there's two things I want to leave you with. A, give us money because we can get this made. Like, there's a link up there. Follow us on Instagram, Malcolm313, Crenshaw Shabazz, Malcolm Rides America, Mike Crenshaw. I can't even say Tom's Instagram handle. It's like some word in Portuguese. It's like Brijavaro or something. Like,
He doesn't even know it. I asked him earlier, and he's like, I don't know. It starts with a B.
oh, okay, yeah. Engines for change, like, you know, like engage and all that. But the other thing is this, is like the more meaningful thing is this. The illusion is that we're separate. It's an illusion, it's a lie. It is the deepest lie ever told. We are not separate. We're not different. We're not separate. We're not special. We are the same. And it is the most valuable lesson I have ever learned in my life, is that I am the same as everybody else, and I'm not special. I'm not distinguished. I am the same. And if we really deeply embrace that message, that we are not exceptional, not that you're not beautiful or whatever, like you're an expression of the Most High, you're like, you are this thing, but that my heart beats at the same rhythm yours does. My goals and my dreams are the same as yours. We all want this thing to be loved. We all want to belong. We all want to understand and be understood. That is, you know, that's the truth of it. That is the truth of it. And the lie is that we are different. And we dance with this lie all the time, and we parade it around, and we wear it on our clothes, and we broadcast it. And as a grandfather, and I'm embracing my grandfather, as a grandfather, I want to tell you that you are not. That you are the same. And that is beautiful. And that we get to love each other for that sameness. And we get to love each other in whatever differences we have also. But those differences do not get to divide us. And that's what I want to leave you with, like, and give us money.
Yeah. Give us money.
Let your money be my money.
We are the same.
Yeah.
We have the same bank account.
Yes.
That is hard to follow. Thank you for that. Well, you know, in the same kind of sentiment of gratitude, I want to thank you guys and yourself as well. I mean, what you're doing is so important, and like you guys said earlier, like nobody else is really doing it. Everybody kind of talks about it, but nobody does it, and nobody puts their own money on the line, and nobody puts their own social time on their line and their own lives. I mean, motorcycles are dangerous. We all know that, whatever. But, you know, just the people who walk the talk, you know, I know that that's something that you say a lot and hold close to your heart, right? You got to walk the talk. And when you find the people who actually do that and are actually putting themselves out there, like those are extremely special people. And those are the people who, if you want to do something bigger than just the little things in your life, you want to surround yourself with people like these guys. Because they're going somewhere and they're doing something. And they're the ones who are going to be leading these movements that we're talking about. And if you want to be part of these movements, you follow the people leading them. So, I guess that's what I'm going to say, is just, make sure that the people who you surround yourself with are the right people, who are the people who are going to help change things for the better, and that you are helping to contribute to that in whatever way that you can, so that we can all kind of move in the same direction.
EWAB Global, Education Without Borders Global, is a 501c3 that is a fiscal sponsor for this project. So if you scan the QR code, you can donate directly to Crenshaw, Shabazz, and the homie Tom. But if you want a tax-deductible donation to a 501c3, then you can make a donation to Education Without Borders. Our website is a little bit slow, so we don't have the cool QR code yet. So if you want to do it that way, you can talk to me directly. I think I'm going to sum up what I'm hearing everybody say with some of what I want to do. One of the things that I want to do is I've been working with indigenous Maasai people to develop land use and development and eco-friendly safari projects that are owned by indigenous African people in Tanzania. And one of the brothers who's designed the project that we support by funding him with procuring land and developing the land, one of the most important things that I needed to do to launch this project was to help him get a motorcycle. And so I want to reach out to you and have that brother be part of Engines for Change, because, yeah. So even just on stage tonight, I'm realizing other ways that I can work within the circle that's already up here. What Malcolm expressed, I say in 2 bars. The physical is a vehicle for the soul. The individual is indivisible from the whole. And that's true, right? So understand that principle. I will also say capitalism is a system of economics where the worth of my existence is equivalent to profit. And so while we're here, we are being used as commodities and sites of extraction. But it's up to us to have a connection to our consciousness and our purpose that acknowledges that truth, but also we can design our own divine relationship to reality and each other that operates above and beyond and outside that. And that's our power. So let's recognize that as we go forward. And thank you all for being here, for real. Thank you, Julianne. Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Malcolm. Yeah.
Have a good night and engage if you can. Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Oh, baby.